Hey, welcome to another episode of The Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert BOBTV Brown. Before we get into this segment, by the end of this video, I want you to do a few things for me. First of all, if you like the video, hit the like button. Please do. If you don't like it, hit unlike. It's okay. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Sometimes, as Jimmy Dole would say, you find yourself unsubscribed and you need to make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell right next to it so you can be notified when a new video is being dropped. Whoop, there it is. And more importantly, the super chat will be on for this segment. So if you want to donate toward the efforts of Bob TV, that's freely up to you. I do have a job, but any amount will help toward the growth of this channel. And more important, let us help you help us by introducing you to a program. There's a link down below that says Equal Justice for All. You're going to click that video link and there's some educational tutorial about a phenomenal program in America that is really making equal justice a reality for every citizen. So this program is phenomenal. The proceeds from you participating in the program will go back, 10% will go back into the Bob TV YouTube channel. So anyway, my name is Robert Brown with The Rob Report. Let's get into it.
Blue collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert BOBTV Brown. How you doing today? Donald Trump starting to get some pushback on this emergency to get funding to help pay for his border wall. Let's take a look at this. All right, so we're going to start from the beginning, from when he first announced that he will use the emergency funding powers to fund the wall going through the defense budget.
Emergency powers was seen as the last resort in Trump's wall crusade. Today, the power grab finally came, oddly casual in its tone.
I'm going to be signing a national emergency, and it's been signed many times before. It's been signed by other presidents. From 1977 or so, it gave the presidents the power.
Now, dude's going to try to prove his case hard here, and I just love to see him just playing his foot down in it to try to give him justification for him doing this, and it just don't work.
We're talking about an invasion of our country.
There's no invasion of our country. We got some people who are fleeing to this country for various reasons, but no invasion.
With drugs, with human traffickers, with all types of criminals and gangs.
This move gives the president the money he needs to fulfill that campaign promise of a border wall with Mexico, the wall that most Americans don't actually want. This move bypasses Congress, usurping one of its primary functions, the so-called power of the purse. President Trump is looking to fund the wall's construction using money from a number of government departments. It includes $600 million from the Treasury's Forfeiture Fund, which is money taken from the proceeds of criminal activity. Almost $1.4 billion will come from the Department for Homeland Security. $2.5 billion can be drawn from the Department of Defense's budget, with a further $3.5 billion from that same department's construction budget. It might seem straightforward, but the fight isn't over.
We will have a national emergency, and we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there, and we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court.
So Trump seems resigned to the idea that he's now entering a world of legal pain. The ultimate decision will likely rest with the Supreme Court, which, because of his appointments, is now conservative leaning. But what's clear here is that this wall is not going to be built overnight.
We will build a great wall along the southern border.
But Trump can at least say he's doing everything within his power to get the wall, keeping his supporters happy in time for the 2020 election. Even before the emergency declaration was signed, the Democrats were on the warpath.
The concept of using a national emergency declaration to try and somehow justify one more try at billions of dollars in additional investments in border security, when a diligent, thorough, several-week-long bipartisan process has been followed and produced a positive outcome, strikes me as a simply terrible idea.
The Democrats can bring a resolution to block the use of emergency powers, but they'd need Republican support in the Senate, and Trump could ultimately veto it anyway. Some Republicans are concerned about the precedent this sets for the next Democratic president to grab emergency powers. Trump's insistence of a crisis at the border isn't shared by his intelligence chiefs. His statements about widespread crime committed by undocumented immigrants aren't backed by statistics. This is seen as a Trump-made emergency, which he's clinging to with all his presidential might. Amanda Walker, Sky News, Washington.
Now, as you see in this video, if you watch the whole entire video, they're saying, the intelligence department saying there is no evasion. Trump is making this stuff up. He's putting out his behind. He ain't got no hat. He need to put one on. All that hair. So so that's just fabricated. Sure, there are people trying to get into the country, but it's not an emergency. He admitted it was an emergency. He said, "Hey, look, well, I could do it longer. I could take my time on this, but I choose to do it quicker." So in other words, you could take your time on an emergency, but you'll do it. Dude, that doesn't even make any sense. Well, just like they said in the report, he did put it forth. He do have a Supreme Court that's leaning toward his way. But the thing is, it may not even go to the Supreme Court. They may knock it down in the circuit courts. But just recently, we had some people in Congress to shoot that down.
The nays are 41. The joint resolution is passed.
You can be for the wall or against the wall. You can think what we're doing at the southern border is inadequate. But that issue pales before the issue before us. And that is how far an executive can reach when Congress does not want to do what that executive wants.
So, Mr. President, over the course of the next few months, I look forward to working with the administration to talk about boundaries that we're very close to getting agreement on, to making changes to the National Emergencies Act that will make sense, that this president is prepared to transfer power back to the Article I branch by his statements, either publicly or through his administration, is extraordinary. That we have a leader with a Republican down the street willing to move this through the regular order is extraordinary. And for those reasons, I will be voting against the resolution of disapproval. And I encourage.
So as you see, Trump ended up losing that vote. And but he went and vetoed it. It says Trump issues first veto of his presidency. The resolution against his emergency declaration was a stunning bipartisan rebuke to Trump. But lawmakers currently do not have the vetoes to overturn his. They don't have the vote enough to overturn the veto. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go rally for more votes if they want to overturn this, because right now they don't have the votes to overturn it. Donald Trump issued the first veto of his presidency Friday afternoon, rejecting a congressional resolution that would have blocked him from funding his borders. And as you saw, it's coming from different areas of our government that he's trying to basically take money from that doesn't belong to him. That's the taxpayers' money. And the taxpayers already said no. It's already polled for no. The House and Senate voted against this. So that's no. He punished the workers for the government, shut the government down for the longest time, just so he can try to get this win. So he's willing to ignore everybody, punish people in their pockets to try to get this thing done. They voted for a resolution. he decided to veto the resolution. Donald Trump issued the first veto of his presidency Friday afternoon, rejecting a congressional resolution that would have blocked him from funding the border wall without congressional approval. Consistent with the law and the legislative process designed by our founders, today I'm vetoing this resolution, Trump said. Congress has the freedom to pass this resolution and have the duty to veto it, and I'm very proud to veto it. The president's veto comes days after 12 Republicans joined Senate Democrats to rebuke the president's decision to declare a national emergency last month in order to redirect funds, I would say taxpayers' funds, to build a wall, which the taxpayers are not in favor of, on the southern border. The resolution was a stunning bipartisan rebuke to Trump, but the lawmakers currently do not have the votes to overturn his veto. Trump on Friday was flanked by a crowd as he approved the veto in the Oval Office, including Vice President Mike Pence, Attorney General William Barr, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, and a group of relatives of people purportedly killed by undocumented immigrants called angel parents by the president, and law enforcement representatives also attending the veto signing. Trump called the resolution dangerous and reckless, arguing that the nation's immigration system has reached a breaking point. No, it is not so, Trump. You're lying, man. Trump also preached his American First policy, arguing that over the years, Congress has not attempted to block emergency declarations involving overseas affairs. We don't worry about our land, he said. We worry about other people's land. That is true. Give him that one. But Barr said in the Oval Office Friday that the president's veto was clearly authorized under the law and consistent with past presidents. Yeah, not the emergency funding, bro. The humanitarian and security crisis we have on the border right now is exactly the kind of emergency that presidents are permitted to address under the National Emergency Act, Barr said. Barr's lying. The liberal advocacy group Public Citizen has already filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the emergency declaration, while the American Civil Liberties Union in the state of California and other groups have pledged also to challenge it. The president himself acknowledged in his speech Friday that litigation could halt the maneuver temporarily. Thursday, Senate votes followed an unsuccessful whipping effort by the president and White House to persuade skeptical Republicans to stick with the president. Ultimately, despite last-minute efforts by a handful of senators to reach a compromise that would have modified the 1976 National Emergency Act, the president told Republican lawmakers to vote however they please. The emergency declaration had proved a conundrum of GOP legislative torn between supporting his border security efforts and asserting Congress powers to allocate federal funds. Trump said Friday he had sympathy for those who, facing this choice, voted for the resolution to condemn executive overreach. I'll let them know when they're pressured, okay? And I told them that Trump said, when I need people, I'm going to let you know. The president added that he didn't need the vetoes because they're not going to be an override. Neither chamber mustered the support for the resolution necessary to override a presidential veto, which requires 2/3 of the vote in both chambers. Still, the House is expected to vote on March 26 to try to override the veto. The rebuke from the members of his own party was a blow to Trump, especially because it involves his core campaign promise to construct the massive wall along the border. In a tweet ahead of the veto, Trump predicted that the Republicans who stuck with him will be rewarded by voters back home. No, they won't. I'd like to thank all the great Republican senators who bravely voted for a strong border security and the wall, Trump tweeted. This will help stop crime, human traffic, drug entering our country. Watch when you get back to your state. They will love you more than ever before. The president's move also comes 2 days after the Senate voted to cut off U.S. support for the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen bloody civil war, a measure Trump has pledged to veto as well. Okay. All right. Now, look, the bottom line is this. He knew the votes wasn't there. But the point is, Trump, you got some Republicans that's not for you on this. All of them are not with you. And if there's a good whip, they're going to be more against you. Now, the House is going to vote to veto your proposal anyway. The thing is, they need to get the Senate to move that up. So it's back to the drawing board with the Senate to whip more votes so they can do another vote on this. That way, with the House and the Senate having the votes that they need, they can stop this. Now, Trump says he's going to try to veto it, but hopefully they'll get enough votes to override it in the future. Right now, it's not going to happen. But the bottom line is this. One thing I can say, Trump is trying to keep his campaign promises. He's firm on that, and his base is going to eat that up. Problem with that is a lot of people that's part of his base, a lot of them don't, some of them don't agree with this particular philosophy. And in this coming election, some of Trump's supporters will be peeled out because a lot of them only supported Trump because they refused to vote for Hillary Clinton. But now there's new people running in the race. He's going to start losing some of that support that he got by default. They wasn't really on Trump's side. They just decided to vote for Trump because Trump was a better deal than Hillary Clinton. That is not a guarantee for Trump in this election. So his base is going to start to dwindle. It's not going to expand because there's other politicians, or maybe not on the Democratic side, but you got a person that's self-proclaimed to be an independent, and a lot of those people who were going to vote for Bernie Sanders went to vote for Trump because then they wasn't going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And Trump got to fight to keep those people. Now, dealing with this Yemen mess. If Trump vetoed this Yemen, that proves to me that he's a racist. Because this slaughtering Yemen, why are we in the middle of this, and why are we backing this? And why are we funding, providing weapons for the Saudis, funding the Saudis to be a part of that war in Yemen? Yemen hasn't done nothing to America. So why are we backing them people in that? And yet these people, again, there's a blockade, people starving, and it's mostly black and brown people with decent resources in that area that will rather just do a genocide and slaughter these people and get them out the way and take over their land so we can have what they got. Again, this colonialism. And yeah, I call it as it is, white supremacy, partnering with irrational governments to take out certain segments of society. So that's that on that. Trump did veto it. It does go up for another vote with the House. The House is going to overwhelmingly support it to a point where he won't be, they'll have the numbers, but the Senate, Chuck Schumer, them boys got to get out there and whip more votes to help aid the House into vetoing Trump's overturning Trump's veto. Anyway, this guy right here, he's not a radical. He's a wealthy elitist that don't care about black and brown people all over the nation, and he don't care about black and brown people in his own nation. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. If you're black and brown, I can get you out of here. I'm going to do whatever I can to get you out of here. I sure am. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. I'll let you later. Peace.